Detective Clara Myers inhaled the metallic scent of the rain-soaked streets as she drove through the dimly lit alleyways of Ravenwood, a sprawling urban mass riddled with secrets. The city had seen better days, its bright facade marred by the darkness that lurked in its shadows. As the city rumbled beneath her wheels, Clara felt each bump reverberate through her chest, reminding her of her own turbulent past. A past she fought to bury beneath the weight of her badge. She had always believed that becoming a detective would help her escape the ghosts of her childhood, the pain of losing her younger sister in a tragic accident that still haunted her dreams. However, it felt like the ghosts had only multiplied since she joined the precinct. Tonight, she was headed to a crime scene that had sent shockwaves through the city. 3 murders in the span of just 1 week. The victims had all been young women, around the age of 25, vibrant and full of life. But now, they lay cold and lifeless in the city's dark embrace. The killer had a distinct pattern. Each victim was a struggling artist, each thought to be on the verge of success, only to have their dreams snuffed out. It was a sickening reminder of how fragile life could be, and the chaos that lurked beneath the surface of success. As Clara pulled up outside the latest crime scene, she noticed the flickering lights of police cruisers. A crowd had gathered, all curious about the latest tragedy. But Clara was used to this. She saw the same haunted looks each time a new victim was found. She closed her eyes briefly and reminded herself to push through the memory. After all, the hunt was her purpose, her reason to breathe. Inside the modest apartment of the latest victim, Clara stepped into a small room cluttered with canvases and half-finished paintings. Tara Green had once been a promising abstract artist. Her artworks revealed a chaotic beauty and a story untold. But now, the colors faded, replaced by the stark reality of her lifeless body sprawled across the floor, a paintbrush still clutched in her hand. Detective Myers, Sergeant Blake called, interrupting her thoughts. "We've got something. Look at this." Blake handed her a small notebook he found tucked beneath the couch. Clara flipped open its pages, revealing sketches of the other 2 victims, Emily and Sarah, both taken by the same horrific fate. Each drawing was delicate yet haunting, with the girls' dreams portrayed as vibrant colors juxtaposed against dark images of despair. "This could be our link," Clara murmured, her heart racing. Outside, thunder rumbled, almost echoing the tension that hung in the air. In the days that followed, Clara dove deep into the investigation, feeling the weight of the case growing heavier on her shoulders. Every evening spent at the precinct, every hour poured over details, felt like a dagger driving further into her soul. The meetings with family members were the hardest, each revealing the personal side of the victims, piecing together their last moments. Tara had been working at a local cafe, serving mugs of hope to patrons, while Emily was found lost in her photography career. Their dreams mirrored Clara's own experiences, striking a chord deeper than she wanted to admit. The layered history of pain and trauma was palpable in every story, whether it was Tara's struggling childhood in foster care or Emily's painful breakup that left lingering scars. Clara couldn't help but remember her own orphaned youth, the moment she had failed to save her sister. The killer was getting more audacious. Clara could feel the knife twist as they uncovered seemingly random connections and felt the urgency to make a breakthrough before another life was lost. One evening, after a particularly harrowing day, Clara returned home to find an unexpected message waiting for her. A tip-off. It was anonymous, but the words sent shivers down her spine. "They don't see the beauty in their art. They're nothing but shells. I will show them the truth." Clara's heart raced as she recognized the chilling pattern. The killer wasn't just claiming lives. They were on a mission to cleanse the very essence of creativity. This was about more than simple murder. It was a twisted narrative that painted the victims as frail and broken, The truth wouldn't just be uncovered. It would be revealed through blood. With an urgency coursing through her veins, Clara contacted her team to trace every possible lead. But time was working against them. The next target, the killer's next victim, could be just around the corner. As the police canvassed the art community, Clara's instincts kicked in, guiding her towards an obscure gallery owned by a reclusive artist, Mark Calder. Rumors swirled around him, stories of genius overshadowed by madness. Clara knew they needed to investigate, but as she arrived, she felt a strange wave of apprehension wash over her. Mark's gallery was a cacophony of emotion. His work was dark and confrontational, each piece whispering secrets and luring the eye into a spiral of chaos. As Clara surveyed the room, she spotted a wall adorned with incomplete portraits of the last victims, each painted with raw intensity. "I see your work evokes strong feelings," Clara commented coolly, approaching Mark, who watched her like a hawk. "Art is meant to provoke, to challenge. It's a reflection of life and death," he replied cryptically, his gaze never leaving her. Clara fought to maintain her composure. His presence felt overwhelming, as if he were dissecting each layer of her defenses. Suddenly, she saw flashes of him leading the victims into his studio, the thrill of character study transforming them into something more than just flesh and blood. It was a psychopathic vision giving birth to twisted art that no one else could comprehend. Clara snapped back to reality, aware of the implications, but the evidence was still thin and circumstantial. With every moment spent with Mark, Clara felt the clock ticking, and the looming dread that another victim would soon join the others weighed upon her. Hours passed, and still there was no breakthrough. But just when she thought she was losing hope, the phone rang. "Detective Myers, we've got a lead." A woman matching the victim's description was spotted heading towards Mark's gallery after hours. Clara's heart dropped. The air was heavy with a bittersweet promise as she raced towards the gallery, urgency breathing life into her exhausted limbs. The streets blurred into a whirl of harsh lights and shadows as adrenaline surged through her veins. When Clara arrived at the gallery, it was alive with chaos. "Mark!" she yelled, forcing her way inside. A familiar hallway led her towards the back where she could hear muffled sounds. There he was with one of the victims, the shimmering hope trapped in a moment filled with dread. Clara pulled her gun, steady as she barged through the door and burst into the studio. "Drop it," she commanded, her voice unwavering, every ounce of her being concentrated on saving the girl in Mark's grips. As Mark turned to face her, his expression twisted into a bizarre grin, eyes glinting with the madness that had propelled him on this path. "You just don't get it, do you? She can be free if she realizes the beauty of the end." Time slowed as Clara's memories flooded back. Her sister's laughter, the moments they had shared while painting. A sick, soft voice whispered in her mind, her own trauma surfacing at the intersection of life and death. "No, you're wrong. It's not about the end but the journey," Clara retorted, taking a step closer, her soul igniting with the need to save an innocent life. "It's too late for her, just as it was too late for your sister," he spat back, tauntingly. Clara felt her heart plummet. The weight of his words crushed her resolve momentarily. But in this moment of weakness, she wouldn't show fear. She would show her strength. Sparks of madness ignited the room as Mark lunged forward, but Clara anticipated his move, stepping aside and shoving him against the canvases behind, splattering both of them with remnants of paint. It was chaos, two souls clashing in a distorted dance as the victim screamed, desperately trying to free herself. Clara's hands trembled, but she remained rooted, envisioning a world where her sister hadn't perished, where light overtook the darkness. Summoning every ounce of courage, she withdrew her firearm, aiming it squarely at Mark's prone figure. "I'm ending this now," she shouted, the voice of a woman who had buried enough pain to fill an ocean. Every breath she took a pact she would make, for not just Tara, but for all the women lost, including her sister. The standoff seemed endless until Mark finally crumbled beneath the weight of her determination. He dropped the knife, the glint from its blade cascading into darkness. The lives he had taken would never be forgotten, but Clara had at last reclaimed hope wrapped in shadows. She made the arrest, but the echoes of his twisted philosophy would linger in her mind. The aftermath left Clara staring into the fractured mirror of her soul, realizing that just as she had fought to save another, she would face her own demons. Healing wouldn't come easy, but she had taken a significant step towards redemption, not just for the victims, but for herself. As the month drew to a close, with Clara stepping back into the world, she found that the city was still alive with its chaotic beauty. The streets she had once feared now held a peculiar kind of peace. She returned to the precinct, her heart slightly lighter now, yet still burdened by the weight of memory. But Clara was no longer just a detective in pursuit of a shadow. She was a survivor carrying light into the depths of darkness. Through the pain, she had carved out hope, not just for herself, but for every dream that wove itself into the fabric of Ravenwood, reminding herself and those around her that beauty could exist even after chaos. The end.